Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 55 of my series of live stream guided tours through Paris. If you can't bring yourself to Paris, I'm going to bring it to you every week for free. My name's Corey Fry, a French fry in Paris, and as I wait for some of my live viewers here, I'm going to ask you, as you're watching on the replay, to just join me in meditating on this beautiful spot here. We're in the 13th arrondissement. I'm trying to keep my voice down because we're in a residential area tucked away here. On the Villa d'Aviel is the name of it. Hello everybody, I can see you, all my live viewers coming in, I appreciate it. So we're starting out with this very peaceful view of one of the residences in the 13th arrondissement. This is an episode introducing La Butte aux Cailles, which is, if you're not familiar with it, a very local and leafy and village-like atmosphere in the sort of southern central portion of the city. We're south of the Latin Quarter, essentially. Peggy Michik, I can see she's saying it's already amazing. All right, well, there are 100 of you live, and so let's get started here. I've got a lot of fun stuff to show you, and again, I'm trying to keep my voice down to remain respectful to these residential areas. And I'm going to zoom in on some of the courtyards and gardens of these residences. So we started out actually inside of one of these little spots. So let me get us back through. There we go. Hi everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's great to have you, episode 55 on its way. I've got the wide-angle lens strapped on today, so we're going to start with some beautiful, broad, sweeping views. Last episode I did, number 54, was a place in the 19th arrondissement called La Mouzaille. And La Mouzaille is, we're kind of continuing that theme because if you recall from last episode, there were, in the early 1900s, there were housing projects in the sense that they wanted to construct these residential areas for the working class, notably the factory workers in these blue-collar neighborhoods of the city. And so this is very similar to La Mouzaille that we saw in the last episode, but in a totally different part of town. And you can see they're all 2-3-story houses that were for the workers back in 1910, 1912 when they constructed this area. And as I've said recently, I'm really in a village type mood. That's really a great time of year for that. So let me take you to the end. This is a cul-de-sac here. It's a dead end. And I started us at the end of it. Look at this rose bush. Stunning. And we'll come around this way. I don't want to bother any of the residents coming out of their homes. So we're going to walk down this called Villa d'Aviel. Let's go ahead. Oh, there's a little doggy. Look at this place with the purple. Hopefully you can make out that purple color there, very subtle. It's really nice. Bonjour. So again, if you're just joining, welcome. It's the Villa d'Aviel is the name of this place in the 13th. This is La Butte aux Cailles is the neighborhood. There's some trash pickup, so we'll see some of those green and yellow trash cans out. I'm in a slower mood today, I think. I'm in a laid-back, chill kind of mood. And so we're just going to take our time and enjoy these visuals. So this Villa d'Aviel, again, like La Mouzaille in the 19th from our last episode, and this was ground that they couldn't build very high on, partly because of there was a river that came through here. Remember that invisible river that we talked about a couple episodes back, the Bièvre? Well, that used to flow right through here. And so the ground was never particularly solid along the banks of the river, even once they buried the river underground. And so for that reason, you get these very quaint areas that can't get developed. You won't see any high-rises, rather. Well, let me show you this place behind me. Look at that. They're actually rather modest brick houses, but sometimes the current residents have painted them in these beautiful ways. Goodness. Oh, I love this door. Now, if we can get cheeky, you know how I like to do it. Through the gate. Wow, look at that. So let me just give you the pan up. Wendy's asking if it's an affluent part of the city. No, I wouldn't describe it as such, particularly compared to other arrondissements, closer to the center of town and whatnot. This was actually part of this, and what I'm going to show you later, actually part of a housing development project, like family housing project. And so they were meant to be very affordable spaces back in the day. It's really a photographer's dream here. Jean says, I definitely could come home to that. Wow, look at that. There are a surprising number of these little villages. Entire books have been written about them. So I guess you can hear the birds as well, which is great. Let me actually, I've got the extender pole here. Let me give you that perspective. Without being too intrusive, of course. Slightly intrusive, but not too much, hopefully. Here there must be someone who runs an art organization here, because you can see this. Some artwork there, and it's a place called Les Arts de la Bière. That's a play on words, because Les Arts with a Z would be the word for lizard. At least if it ended with a D, it would be the word for lizard. So Les Arts, the arts. So there you go. Les Arts de la Bière must be some sort of, I don't know, maybe an artistic community or some kind of organization. And let's see what else I can show you here. So yeah, the ground wasn't very solid because of the river that used to run through here, and then also, I believe, through most of this area there were the stone quarries, the classic quarries on the hills where they would excavate gypsum stone, limestone, things of that nature. See, I have some rain on my lens here. It's one of those days where it comes and goes, the rain, but I have come prepared with my little cloth. I try to plan for everything on these episodes. Look at this beauty. Sharon's asking if they were originally multifamily houses. Yes, indeed. So early 1900s, it's the Belle Époque. They're trying to take these outer places, these outer neighborhoods of Paris that in fact once were outside of the city before the expansion, and they wanted to give the factory workers and the blue-collar families and whatnot affordable housing. And so that's why you can see this is using a lot of brick. Often we'll see wood being used as well, sometimes even concrete and cinder blocks. Sorry for the raindrops. I was hoping we wouldn't get much of that, but I'll do my best. Look at this beauty. Allez-y, c'est bon. Merci. That's some good old-fashioned Paris meditation there. Again, if you're a photographer, come through here, especially on a weekday. Come through on a weekday. Heather Jackson says her front door is almost the same color. Well done, Heather. You've always got kind of a French flair going on, Heather, so I'm not surprised. Look at that. Let's go ahead and just pop through here. Hope you're enjoying these views. All right. By the way, there's something beautiful at the end of this. Can you catch that? Ooh, doggy. We're just getting started, let me tell you. So if you have been following this series regularly, you will recognize this kind of structured neighborhood, this kind of atmosphere from the previous episode, La Musaya. If you have not seen episode 54, La Musaya, go ahead and check that out on my YouTube or my Facebook pages. So good. But we can't stay here forever at the Villa d'Aviel. So what I would like to do, in fact, is, check this out. We're going to do something a little bit different today. And that is, I'm going to switch out. We've got the wide angle lens on at the moment. And I'm going to occasionally switch out for my zoom lens because it can change the vibe a little bit. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to get rid of the wide angle lens. And I'm going to pop on the zoom. And then we get these gorgeous perspectives. What it does is it gives us a different focal length without getting too nerdy about photography, videography. And look at that. So it's that's the view I wanted to share with you right there. Oh my goodness. We're going to talk about that building. It's another housing project from 1912. This was all built around the same year as the Titanic, just to give you some context. And then before we head there, let me show you this. It's another great door. Look at that blue. Ooh. That is not photoshopped blue, folks. That's the real deal. Looks like we've got, I don't think it's a fig tree, some kind of version of a fig tree. That's stunning. And then let's look back. Really, really pleasant. And again, come here on a weekday when there are even fewer people. If you want to stay somewhere, by the way, this is fun. At number 6 of this villa, this alley, look over here. You might want to make a note. This is a bed and breakfast. Technically, they have a website. Chambre-d'hôte-de-Paris.com. So note that down if you want. I checked it. They are very affordable. It's a bed and breakfast, and for one person per night, it's 68 euros, which includes breakfast. And for a couple, for 2 people per night, it's 85 euros, again with breakfast included. So that could be fun. If you're looking for an alternative place to stay and a different way to experience the city. So again, look at this. So what's going on here? Right at the end of the Villa d'Aviel is what they call the Cité d'Aviel. It's more commonly referred to as La Petite Alsace. Alsace is a region in the east of France. If you're not familiar with it, it's right along Germany. In fact, it used to be part of Germany, and it was annexed back and forth between the two countries, Alsace. And it's called that, the Petite Alsace. Its nickname comes from the fact that this architecture references that, you know, with the maison à colombage, or the half-timber style construction that eastern France is very well known for, and Germany for that matter. And this, again, this was a housing project of sorts. I don't know if it was low income, but lower income for the factory workers of this area. The La Butte, Cailles, where we are today, up on the hill in the 13th arrondissement, was a place of the working class. And the conditions around here were pretty rough, pretty nasty. And so you had a priest in the area who was a big philanthropist. His name was Jean Violet. And Jean Violet got the idea that I want to help the families around here live in some better conditions. And so this was created. And I'm going to show you the interior courtyard in a minute. That priest, Jean Violet, worked hard for workers' unions, you know, workers' rights and working conditions. He also harbored Jews, protected and saved Jews during World War II. He's even recognized as one of the righteous among the nations, you know, when the people, the heroes who get officially recognized for having saved Jews. And so that priest was the real deal. And I'm going to show you this. We're going to keep the zoom lens on for a moment, and I'm going to show you why. But let me show you this right here. Let's pan down. You always got to look up, but you always got to look down. So La Bièvre, it's the Invisible River from my Invisible River tour. Go check that out on YouTube or my Facebook page if you haven't seen that yet. And it was called La Bièvre, and for hundreds and hundreds of years, really thousands of years, a couple thousands of years, let's try that again. A couple of thousand years. It flowed through here, above ground, and there's actually these little plaques that will show you where it flowed. And if you cross the street here, I know for a fact that's right here. There's another one too. Reminds you. So what did they do? Well, in 1910, 1912, they started burying the river, so it still exists. They submerged it underground because it was so nasty with all the factories and whatnot along it. And so keep an eye out when you're in the 13th and the 5th arrondissement. You can see those plaques that remind you that the river used to flow through. Okay, so La Petite Alsace. this entrance here, you're going to see why I keep the zoom lens on. Fun little blue gate here. I'm going to let the resident exit with her doggy. There we go. It's amazing. So someone I saw comment, they said, well, they don't build housing projects like this anymore. And that's exactly my point. In the last episode, La Mousaille, someone left a comment and said, well, you shouldn't really badmouth the housing project architecture that looks very modern and contrasts the older stuff. And I wanted to clarify, I wasn't saying that, affordable housing stinks. I just want them to make the housing projects like this. Back when, aesthetics were what it was all about. You've got 40 homes here. They're 2 stories high, 3 bedrooms each. And in 1912, again, under the priest Jean Violet, you could fit large families here. Over 300 people could inhabit this space. And I put the zoom lens on so I wouldn't have to go all the way into this spot, because even though it's technically open to the public, it's better to be respectful and quiet when you're here, because there are families and kids and whatnot. I want to show you some more of the architecture though. There we go. Pretty, huh? Not too shabby. And this is still actually part of the HLM organization that runs this. In other words, the rents are still moderated and controlled by the city to allow, sort of medium class income families to live well. And they are living well. Again, why can't they build these places like this anymore? Probably because you can't fit enough people in to turn a profit when you're constructing those large apartment complexes. But one last look here. It's leafy. La Petite Alsace, the little Alsace. This is the Belle Époque, people. The Belle Époque, or the French use that to describe the beautiful era, leading up to World War I, where the champagne was flowing and there was money, and it was Art Nouveau, and it was the cabarets and the Moulin Rouge, and there was an absolute respect for aesthetics and living well. Let me try to wipe this down for you. And we're going to make our way back through here. These people made themselves a cute little corner. Okay, onward. We're just getting started in La Butte aux Cailles, this neighborhood of the 13th. One last look this way. In fact, what we're going to do is go back to the wide angle. So let me do that. You're going to see the difference here, by the way. That's the zoom. And I'll show you the wide angle. Here we go. So we pop this off. And wide angle. There we go. You can see a lot more. So yeah, again, this is, I like to push the envelope and experiment with these episodes, and so today we're switching back and forth between wide angle and zoom to give you the full effect. Okay, I think we've seen enough of this. I got some more stuff to show you in the Butte aux Cailles. We're right on the edge of the Butte aux Cailles, by the way. Butte is a French word meaning hill. Sometimes Montmartre will be described as a butte as well. Okay, here we go. Moving on. say goodbye about the little Alsace. Hope you all enjoy that. This is why I talk so often about Paris having so many layers and being so rich, and you can be here for months and months or even years and years and always find something new. Those little discoveries it's exactly what I'm talking about. So why do they call it la Butte aux Cailles? Caille is a common French word for quail, the bird, the quail. So some people mistakenly think there were a lot of quail back in the day, maybe in the Middle Ages when the river was flowing through here. But no, that's not why. There's also a slang word. Apparently, Caille could mean a lady of the night, and one of the theories was that there were many of those working girls here on the hill, so it was called the Hill of the Caille. But no, it was actually a gentleman by the last name of Caille, who in the 1500s bought a huge piece of agricultural land here, and his family developed this area with farming and windmills and things like that, and so his name was stuck to the neighborhood, Butte aux Cailles. Now here you can see evidence. We're going to definitely see a lot of street art, particularly the tour extension that I do today for my frites, for my Patreon supporters. We're going to see a lot of very creative street art, and that's what La Butte aux Cailles is known for, among other things. Quick little garden peek. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Speaking of which, I got one up here that we're going to peek into. Hey, June Parham, I see you there, saying that she stayed on the edge of this arrondissement and the Latin Quarter, the 5th arrondissement, and she said she quite liked it. Fantastic. All right, so let me show you this. We're keeping the wide angle on because I got to pop you over this gate. There is, if you can make it out, a sort of faux medieval tower. How lovely is that? This type of architecture is usually referred to as une folie. Une folie is when the aristocracy or the bourgeois would go out on the countryside, which this absolutely used to be the countryside outside of the city, and they would build these sort of fantastical, recreated historic types of castles, or Roman temples and things like that. It's called une folie. If you're familiar with the Parc Monceau, with all like the Roman arches and the pillars and the funky old antique-y looking statuary, those are called folie as well, and so that's what we just saw. We are going to switch to the zoom again. For a specific reason. Whoop. So with the zoom, you can see the difference. Oh, look at the street art here. Let me cross. Big time street art area here. Quite often, if you do a street art tour of Paris, it will take you through La Butte aux Cailles. So I'll give you those visuals. It's fun. And then there's one over here. But I popped the zoom lens on because now we get that different focal length. And look at this. You've just got to approach this view with this lens because, my goodness. Wow. We're going to go nice and slow. Look at that with the street lamp. I mean, actually, there's a little pylon here. I'm going to stand up on this. There we go. It doesn't get any better. Hi, Maggie Jones. I can see you there. Good morning. This is the Church of Sainte Anne. The full name is Sainte Anne de la Butte aux Cailles. It was finished in 1912, the same time as the Little Alsace and those buildings, the homes that we just saw. So that must have been a very big, booming construction period for the Butte aux Cailles. Again, born out of the Belle Époque, with a very Italian dome-like style. Look at that street. I mean, you could just... It's like you've died and gone to European heaven. So we're getting, into the proper Butte aux Cailles section here, and I will show you another view or two of that church. But I'm absolutely addicted to this street and this perspective, and I wanted to share that with you, wherever you may be around the world at the moment. On a lighter note, Napoleon, street art. Very workaday neighborhood, a no-frills neighborhood. Obviously, the artists are here, they're expressing themselves. And it just all kind of works. Kyle Courtney says, I love your enthusiasm. Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate that. Hey Lita, I see you there. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Look at these amazing, legit painted street art murals. And you come here, you sit at a sidewalk cafe. This is the kind of stuff that you get to ponder and contemplate as you're sipping away on your café crème. And it leads us to this square, which is called Place de la Commune. Technically, Place de la Commune de Paris. I have talked several times, particularly in my tours and on a couple of episodes, about the Commune. Long story short, it was the working class, the blue-collar folks, the people that would have actually lived in this neighborhood. They rose up against their government in 1870 and 71, and it culminated in the people trying to fight to keep their government from coming into Paris. They were out at the Palace of Versailles, the French government, and they wanted to come in and quell the uprising of the Commune. And in 1871, one of the grand battles of the people of Paris fighting against the existing government, it happened right here. And we're looking at a beautiful Wallace fountain there, which you probably recognize if you've been through Paris. But let me show you. I'm keeping this in my pocket the whole time. You had folks like this. These are the communards, or the commune fighters, and they set up barricades here in the Butte aux Cailles, and they were fighting, again, the French government who was coming in to quell the disorder. And many of these folks, the working class of Paris, lost their lives defending this hill and trying to defend the edge of Paris. And so this area is named after that, the Commune. It ended very badly for them. Tens of thousands of those people wiped out, sadly. They weren't saints necessarily. They had murdered priests and burned down a lot of buildings, the Hôtel de Ville and the Tuileries Palace. So, they destroyed a lot of stuff, the revolutionaries. But in the end, certainly they paid the ultimate price, and thousands of them were wiped out. But this square is dedicated to them. They actually set up their headquarters here. So whenever you hear about the Commune of 1871, this was their HQ here in the Butte aux Cailles. Can I just do something that I've been wanting to do? I hope this doesn't make any of you sick. But first of all, that's a nice view, isn't it, with the street lamp? I just like the cinematic feel of this, doing sort of like a pirouette of sorts around the Wallace fountain, because these ladies are gorgeous. I've just been wanting to do that for a while, so anyway, let me show you something else. I got another image to show you, because they've got one of these plaques here. These city plaques are not always very impressive. I think sometimes they're very lacking and they're quite dry and boring, but the city has installed them in certain areas that have historical importance. And here you can see let me get my fat digit in there. Mr. Cailles, Pierre Cailles, in 1543, he, along the river, the Bièvre, which is buried underground now, he created a big agricultural, he bought up a plot of land here, and that's why this is called, as you can see, this area is La Butte aux Cailles. But what this also references is, look, an atterrissage forcé, which means a forced landing. It was the first manned hot air balloon ever. So the French invented the idea of the hot air balloon. These are brothers called the Montgolfier brothers. And a couple of guys decided to pilot the first manned flight of a balloon landed right here in this square. So let me show you this. How charming is that? That is the freaking first hot air balloon that was manned and not tethered to the ground that left the Bois de Boulogne in the 1700s and flew all the way across Paris and above Notre Dame and above Saint-Sulpice, and then a big gust of wind took it off course and it started to float outside the southern edge of the city in the 1780s, and they had to land here on the Butte aux Cailles, and both pilots survived, and that was a huge win for France, and it was a kind of a show of their prowess and their engineering skills and whatnot. So there you go. Isn't that charming? And by the way, how beautiful was the design on this hot air balloon? Here it is. We're seeing it floating over the Seine, by the way. And this is one of those guys. His name was de Rosier. He was one of the pilots. And that is just... So you couple that with the historical text here and the garden vibe of La Butte aux Cailles. And, that's the stuff that gets me out of bed in the morning. That is just exciting stuff. The first manned hot air balloon landed here. There also used to be a windmill. Look at this. Of course, windmills. Think of this as the southern version of Montmartre. Used to be outside the city, shanty villages, artists, immigrants, outcasts, and then developed in 1860 when the city expanded, just like the story of Montmartre. So there used to be a huge windmill right here in this square. A lot of local cafes and eateries and little épiceries. Let me show you this view here. Once again, the church, St. Anne. Wow, yes. Let me back up. Where do we want to put that lantern? Right about there. Money, 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 money. Old church. Love it. All right, how am I doing on time here? 33 minutes. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up the public version of this tour, folks. Give you a little taste of La Butte aux Cailles. And I'm going to move to my private tour extension for my Patreon supporters. I didn't really give the spiel today. I wasn't in the mood, but check the links in the description of this replay if you want to support this project and help me continue to search out these hidden gems in Paris and give you a free guided tour every week. And if you do support me on patreon.com, then you're going to get a lot of rewards and cool stuff like PDF maps of every episode that I do, and discounts on my real life tours, because you can actually take tours with me. I'm a tour guide, and a bunch of other stuff. And so yeah, consider becoming a Patreon member. We'd love to have you. It's a really great community, if I do say so myself. And one of the perks that you get is every week I do a private extension of each live stream walk. And that's what I'm about to do. So if you are a Patreon supporter, you're part of our private Facebook group, go over there right now. And I will see you in a few minutes, and we're going to continue. There's a lot of street art that I want to show you, some cool little village vibes, some cottages, and some more garden courtyards. So thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoyed a little... Let me stand up on this pylon. A little taste of the Butte aux Cailles. We'll definitely do a part 2, because this neighborhood, we're just getting started here. And have a lovely day. And I think that's about all I want to say. I'll catch you on the next episode. Take care. Have a good one. If you can't bring Paris to you, or if you can't bring yourself to Paris or something like that, then I'm going to bring it to you, or I'm going to bring you to Paris, or I'm going to do something involving you or Paris. I think that's what I wanted to say. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.